Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show on this. It's Sunday, the 24th of January, 2021. Thank you for tuning in. Glad to have you guys here. Now, first thing I want to talk about is I'm keeping my eye on a few things in the world. And one of the things I'm keeping my eye on is COVID-19 variant that's called 501.V2. And this variant is showed up in South Africa, and it was reported to the country's Minister of Health on December 18th, 2020. Now, I'm keeping my eye on that variant because there's a mutation within that variant. It's called E/484K mutation in that variant. It's a E/484K is an amino acid alteration. It's a mutation that it's called neutralizing antibodies, which could affect the effectiveness of the COVID-19 vaccines based on spike proteins. Okay, so this is what we're dealing with here, and I'm keeping my eye on that situation. Just one of the situations that I'm keeping my eye on in the world right now, you know. Another situation I'm keeping my eye intensely on is the police arrested 3,000 Russians who are defying protest bans to demand Navalny's release. Now, you remember what happened in Washington with the protest on the, I don't know if to call it a protest or just exactly what it was, on the Capitol. They arrested like 100 people, you know. This kind of gives you an idea of the size and scope of a problem is by how many people they have to arrest. In Russia, they needed to arrest 3,000 people. So you know it's a big, powerful situation happening in Russia right now. So we're going to have to keep our eye on it and see if it develops and spreads out further and bigger, or if it goes away. But if it spreads out further and bigger, it could move into something of something that could actually change the political structure of Russia if it moves into something much bigger. I've seen this happen, and I'm not saying this is going to happen in Russia. I'm just saying I've seen it happen in other countries before, and it can happen pretty fast. We'll have to wait and see just exactly what happens in Russia with this situation. So this is something that I'm keeping my eye on. Now, another thing I'm keeping my eye on right now is Basil III. If you don't know what Basil III is, it's a new group of laws and regulations put in by the government after the crisis of 2008 to try to mend the situation so we don't have a banking crisis again. But this also, in effect, puts changes in for gold status as a reserve asset for the banks. Okay? And this spring, there's going to be changes coming this spring as far as gold is concerned for the banking system, and also for the things like the COMEX, you know. And what these changes are effectively going to do, it looks like this spring and moving into summer, is it's going to make it harder for the riggers to rig the gold and silver price. Now, if you guys don't know about the rigging that's been going on with the gold and silver price, and there's been fines laid out for this rigging, what they do is they use the paper short contracts, GLD and SLV, and basically they make a whole bunch of paper silver or paper gold. And it looks, on paper, it looks like there's far more gold out there and far more silver out there than actually really exists in the real world. What this tends to do is it tends to smash the price down. And they do that every time the price starts to heat up on gold and silver, and they've been doing this for a very long period of time. These new Basel III changes that are coming into status this spring are going to make it much harder for the riggers. Now, I'm not going to say it's going to completely eliminate the rigging, of the markets through the paper short contracts. I'm not saying that the paper short contracts are going to disappear. It's just that it's going to make it more difficult. So this is just another thing that's going to help raise the price of gold and silver moving into this summer and moving into next fall, next in 2022. Uh, I believe 2022 is going to be the year for gold and silver. I think we're going to see massive increases in price, maybe even a little bit before we even get into 2022. It's probably possibly going to start. Uh, Gold and silver have settled in with a gold price in the 1800s and the silver price, just above $25 lately. They've kind of settled into these prices. These are new price levels because you remember you could get silver for like 14 bucks and you could get gold for like 1200. Those days are gone. Gold is always through history, kept up with inflation, and perhaps sometimes if there's monetary problems it can exceed inflation by a considerable amount. Uh, Gold is and silver are probably two of your safest options within the financial system to maintain your purchasing power and to store value and wealth away. But you got to think in the physical terms, rather than thinking, hey, I'm going to go out there and just buy GLD or SLV, which are a paper short contract on gold and silver. Because there could be a day coming in the future, it might not be that far away, where if you own the paper short contracts and you don't own the real physical asset, well, you're just out of luck. And they'll settle with you in dollars, and the dollar ain't going to be worth it. The dollar's going down. I'll tell you why. We got Biden on one hand here. New administration. They want to do what's right for the people. We got 30 million Americans out there right now who can't feed themselves. Their jobs aren't coming back. This is over. Done. It's gone. Their jobs ain't coming back. And, those people need to be taken care of. You just can't have 30 million people starve in the United States of America. It just won't happen. So what they're going to have to do is they're gonna force through legislation and stuff, and they're gonna start giving these people money, but that doesn't solve the problem. The only thing that's going to really solve this problem is something called UBI, or Universal Basic Income. And I see that coming in the next few months. I don't see it long ways down the road. I see it short ways down the road. It's going to be a subsistence income. What that means is it means basically the people that are on it don't starve. But subsistence means that you can't get ahead on it. You can only kind of barely get your rent paid, squeeze through to get your food paid, and keep your lights on in your house. That kind of an income. And that's what it's going to be, a subsistence income. But for a number of people out there, if they're very careful with their money and they're very frugal with their money, they can get by on that pretty good. Now, people out there that are used to having a good paying job, it's going to feel like it's not going to feel good. But for a lot of people out there who've never had a good paying job and stuff, it's going to seem like a relief to be on this UBI. Uh, and so that's coming. We got that coming. Now, about the National Guard, I pointed this out to you guys. They were in the Capitol and in those heated buildings and stuff, and I pointed it out that they were having to lay on the marble floor with no yoga mats or anything. I said, why don't they give them some yoga mats or something? Well, at least it was heated in that building. They took them out from there. Instead of listening to my advice, giving them some yoga mats or something, what would I have done? Give them a few yoga mats to lay on or something to keep their bones off of the hard marble. But no, they moved them out of there and they moved them into a garage where there was no heat, a parking garage. And the wind blows through those parking garages, and it's wintertime right now. And I see a picture of them all here laying on the floor inside the parking garage, sprawled out, and trying to got their heads on their bags and stuff, but their bodies are on that cold floor. You just can't stand. If you're in there for like a long period of time, you're just like waiting around inside a parking garage. You just can't stand on your feet the whole time. You gotta you got to kind of sit down and stuff, and you're going to be on that cold cement, and maybe the wind's blowing through there, and it might be down near freezing inside the building and stuff. That's not nice, considering the job that they did protecting the Capitol. They asked them to do that job. They pulled them in there to do that job. And I don't agree with that they would. And it says here that National Guard members say they feel betrayed after being banished to a parking garage. I don't blame these guys for feeling betrayed, because that's tough. Why put them through that misery if you don't have to? It's just like they didn't really. I don't know. I don't want to go into that too much more, but let's take a look at something else here, real quick, while we're on the thing. People are moving out certain states. Uh, they're moving out of Illinois. They're moving out of New York. They're moving out of California. They're moving out of New Jersey. And they're moving out of Maryland in droves. Okay, so there's going to be vacant houses everywhere in those states. And you're going to have a real estate problem with the real estate starting to I mean, I can't see it doing anything else, but the real estate starting to sink a little bit in price. Might not sink substantially, but if there's a lot of people moving out, and they're moving in to other states. The states they're moving into are Idaho, Arizona, South Carolina, Tennessee, and North Carolina. And they're moving in big time into those states. And so real estate's going to be in short supply in those states, but it's like an artificial. It's going to push the real estate prices up in those states where they're moving into, artificially. Like Florida. Florida real estate's probably not going to go down that much because you got a lot of people moving in. Texas, going to go down that much because you got a lot of people moving in. Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, these places, Probably Georgia and Alabama too, if they're moving in. And also we're looking at Idaho, and we're looking at Arizona, and states like that, moving into big time. Mass exodus of people. When you see mass exodus of people like this, you know that there's big systemic problems, Now, I've been forecasting, looking ahead. And for the last number of months, maybe 4 or 5 months, I've been saying, or several months anyway, I've been saying that an economic recovery is coming to a certain degree. Well, that economic recovery I'm talking about is nothing more than a bounce. It's a bounce because we went down so quick. It's not unusual to have a bounce, especially if they're successful with the inoculations for the virus. It's not unusual to have a bounce. We could see moving into summer and fall. Also, we got to take into consideration that these flus and colds, they don't like heat, and so does the COVID virus. I don't think it likes heat either. And so what we might see is the virus starting to settle back a little bit because of the inoculations, and then the economy starting to improve a little bit on all this money that they're going to be pumping into the system. Yes, prices are going to be going up and everything. Bitcoin is going to be doing exceptionally well over the next year or two. Gold and silver are going to be doing exceptionally well. The dollar's not going to be doing good at all, I don't think. And I think what you're going to find is if you got all your money in dollars in the bank, that you're going to lose a lot of purchasing power that you could have made up if you had been in these other asset classes. So now's the time to think about this, and probably one of the places that's really safe and going to make some really good gains is probably silver. You want to take a look at silver? Take a look at the fundamentals of silver. Do a little bit of research on it. You know what you're going to find? Silver is very rare in the earth. In fact, the United States Geological Survey did a survey on silver a few years ago. This is a few years ago, and they said that silver was going to be the first element, that is going to become so scarce that they're going to put it on the, like, if it was an animal, it would be going on the endangered species list. And they have to have it. Electronics, you can't make them without silver. Solar cells, you can't make them without silver. And you know the world's going more and more solar all the time. A lot of products you buy, like on Amazon and stuff, you know, they'll have a little solar panel on them and everything. Can't make it without silver. I'm sorry. And what they did was, is in this industrial revolution that we went through in the last couple 100 years, they've invented new mechanical ways to get silver out of the ground really quick. So what they did was, is they mined and mined and mined with these new machines that enabled them to get the silver out of the ground really quick. And they've scoured the earth. And silver was cheap and plentiful. Mining production was up year after year after year. But the ore inventory that is in the ground, they get the silver out of something called ore. Big lumps of rock that have silver in it. Well, they always take the good stuff first. It's just like anybody, you know, if somebody brings you an ice cream sundae, eat the cherry off the top first. All the low-hanging fruit's been plucked as far as silver's concerned worldwide. Now they got to scour into the ore that has less high-quality ore grades. And fuel costs a lot more money. Labor costs a lot more money. Everything costs a lot more money. And so it's just a no-brainer that silver prices are not going to go downwards over the long term. They're just going to go up and up and up. What safer place can you get to have your money and be able to keep it in your own hand is physical silver. It's the thing to really, it's like a no-brainer now at this point in time, you know, to have a little bit of that on hand. Thank you guys for listening to my show. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the very next episode. Bye-bye.